Perhaps no military general in the history of independent India has ever captured the national imagination in the way Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw did. He was so blunt in telling Indira Gandhi when India was not ready for war. Let's hear his story today.
Press the bell icon on YouTube and never miss another update.
One of the chief architects of India's 1971 victory against Pakistan, Manekshaw is most famously remembered for bluntly telling Prime Minister Indira Gandhi that the Indian army wasn't ready for war in April 1971. Saying that his job was to fight to win, he asked for a few months' time, a request which Gandhi, to her credit, accepted. True to his words, when the Indian-Pakistan War broke out in December 1971, Manekshaw delivered India one of its swiftest and most remarkable military victories. As is true for any legendary figure, anecdotes of Manekshaw's ingenuity, valor, and wit abound. Most are largely true, even if few details may have been added over time through errors of communication or to enhance the mythology around him. One, for instance, was Manekshaw invited the members of the Pay Commission when he heard of a planned cut in the soldiers' uniforms allowance, it was reported. He then asked the members, "Now, gentlemen, you tell me who would obey my orders if I was dressed in a crumpled dhoti and kurta." This settled the debate. In his book, Leadership in the Indian Army, former Major General V.K. Singh recounts from a personal experience how Manekshaw was very affable in his interactions with the younger officers. When Behram Panta Khi, who once served as Manekshaw's aide-de-camp, threw a party at his home in Kannur, the general, upon hearing the loud music, walked in and said, "You chaps are having a party and did not invite me?" After finding out that it was a pound party where everyone bought their own food and drinks, he sent one of his men to bring this bottle of scotch. Manekshaw was born on 3rd April 1914 in Amritsar to Hurmozji Manekshaw, a doctor, and Hirabai. The fifth of 6 children, he acquired his school education at Sherwood College, Nainital. Thereafter, he returned to Amritsar for his studies at the Hindu Sabha College. In July 1932, he joined the Indian Military Academy as part of its first batch. It is believed that he did this as an act of rebellion against his father, who refused to send the young boy to London to study medicine. Manekshaw met his wife, Shiloguri, in 1937. They married 2 years later on 22nd April 1939 and had 2 daughters. Manekshaw was commissioned into 2x12 Frontier Force Regiment on 22nd December 1934. Initially, he was sent to Lahore for 1 year to serve an attachment period with a British unit. Thereafter, in February 1936, he rejoined his parent unit. During his military career, he endured many tough moments. On one particular occasion, he escaped death by the skin of his teeth. Manekshaw, then just a young captain fighting in World War II, sustained multiple bullet injuries against the Japanese in a Burmese jungle on 22nd February 1942. He was evacuated from the location by his orderly Shay Singh and fortunately survived. In yet another case, his career almost got derailed. A court of inquiry was ordered against him in the early 1960s when he was serving as commandant of the Defence Services Staff College in Wellington. The precise reason was never articulated as Manekshaw refused to speak about it. However, former Lieutenant General J.F.R. Jacob writes in his book An Odyssey in War and Peace that the principal movers in the campaign against him, Manekshaw, were Defense Minister V.K. Krishna Menon and his protege, Lieutenant General Call, B.M. Call. Call considered Manekshaw to be a potential rival. But Jacob also adds that Manekshaw had a habit of being overly critical of the government, which irked the political brass. In his book mentioned earlier, Singh says that in the inquiry that took place, 3 charges were formally levied against Manekshaw. First, that he was disloyal to the country because he had hung pictures of British viceroys and governor generals in his office instead of Indian leaders. Secondly, he had failed to take action against a military instructor who had made disparaging remarks against Indians. Even though Manekshaw had told the instructor to be more careful, it was argued that he should have taken a more serious approach. And third, that Manekshaw had made certain derogatory remarks himself about fellow officers' wives. The officer who had made the allegations, however, told the court of inquiry that he had neither heard Manekshaw make the remark, nor could he recall who had told him about it. The Indian debacle that followed in the 1962 war against China, however, saved Manekshaw, so to speak. Menon and Call had to resign, and Manekshaw was given command of 4 corps. From there on, he had a relatively smooth sail and was appointed Army Chief by PM Indira Gandhi in July 1969. In his role as the Army Chief, Sam Manekshaw made history not only by guiding India to victory in the Bangladesh Liberation War, also by resisting the political pressure to intervene at an inopportune time, going even to the extent of offering to resign. Despite his differences with him, J.F.R. Jacob writes, he did more than any other chief to maintain the dignity of the army and always stood up against the bureaucracy when necessary. In January 1973, the month of his retirement, Manekshaw was appointed as Field Marshal, a largely ceremonial rank but reflective of his stature in the Indian Armed Forces history. He was the first Indian to be awarded this rank, and of now shares his laurel with one of his predecessors, General Kondadra Karyappa, who received it later in 1986. As great as Manekshaw was, he often got into trouble with the authorities. As former civil servant P.R. Chari notes, Manekshaw once told a reporter that he had been asked to join the Pakistan Army in 1947, and if he had, the result of the 1971 war would have been different. V.K. Singh notes that due to this incident, Manekshaw fell out of favor with the government. Though the government could not take away his rank, it did take away everything else. And he was given a salary which was much lower than what he was entitled to, he writes. Chari mentions another incident. At a girls' NCC cadet event, Manekshaw was the first chief guest and kissed one of the prize winners on the stage, resulting in a big furore. To handle it, an inquiry was ordered. However, it was carried out at such a pace, writes Chari, that the issue receded from public memory. But Manekshaw, ever the brave heart, was defiant even in his last moments. I'm okay were the last words he even spoke 2 days before he died on 27 June 2008. Gandhi, who led India to victory in the 1971 war against Pakistan. "Your surrender or we wipe you out" was the message given by Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw to Pakistan on December 13, 1971. Field Marshal Manekshaw was as a fearless patriot, revered as the country's best-known soldier. Field Marshal Manekshaw's distinguished military career spanned 4 decades in which he participated in 5 wars, including the India-Pakistan War of 1971. Due to his bravery, he was lovingly known as Sam Bahadur, which means Sam the Brave in Hindi. He is the recipient of the Padma Vibhushan and Padma Bhushan, two of India's highest civilian awards.
A number of you will be joining as officers of the Indian Army, a great professional army.
So Sam, how was your meeting with Mrs. Gandhi about the Indo-Pakistan War?
Pakistan really cracked down with a big way. The poor Bengalis, what could they do against all the Pathans and Punjabi Muslims? And since started pouring it into India and Mrs. Gandhi in a awful temper looked at me, read out messages from the Chief Minister of West Bengal. The thousands of refugees are poured in from the Chief Minister of Assam, Chief Minister of Tripura. And she looked at me and said, "What are you doing about it?" I think what's it going to do with me? So I want you to do something. So what do you want me to do? So I want you to march into East Pakistan. I said, that means war. So she said, I don't know what is war. So I said, oh, have you read the Bible? God said, let there be light, and there was light. And you say, let there be war and war? Are you ready? I certainly am not. And I said, this was that event, 23rd of April. I said, what Himalayan passes are opening. And if the Saudis give us an ultimatum, then I said, the monsoon will be breaking in a few days' time. And when it rains in that part of the world, we pause. Rivers become like oceans. If you stand on one bank, you can't see the other. By movements, we become confined to roads. Because of climatic conditions, their force will not be able to support me. And if I were to go in, I guarantee you 100% defeat. I said to Mr. Gandhi, you now give me your orders. All right, cabinet will meet again at 4 o'clock.
If you haven't pressed the bell icon, press it now, and we would love to know your feedback in the comment section below. Till then, love.